Hello, beloved people of God. This is Pastor Adam with a video explanation of our annual church conference packet. So, you should all, if you're watching this, have also been able to access it digitally on your email. And if you want a paper copy, you're welcome, of course, to print it off on your own. Otherwise, Friday office hours, so Friday, November 17th, you can come in the morning to church and I can give you a paper copy and answer any questions you have. I'll have some on Sunday, the 19th of November, and then, of course, at the meeting on Monday, the 20th at 6 p.m., the actual church charge conference. Got my little hand down here circling that. You can, of course, get a paper copy, or if you want to just bring a tablet or a laptop and follow along on a digital copy like this, that would also maybe be preferred with using less paper. Our annual church conference meeting will be led by District Superintendent Peace Kim, and then, of course, I'll be there. And I know a number of you won't be able to join us just due to other commitments and things that have come up over the past few weeks. So I encourage you to go ahead and just at least watch through this video, read through the packet. If you have any concerns or questions, reach out to me and I can address those. But just to honor all the work of the committee chairs and the administrative council that we have put in together to prepare this, we encourage you to at least know what's going on in the church and have a better sense of where we're heading in 2024 by going through this packet. When we meet with DS Peace, he'll lead us through uh, the meeting materials. So there'll be a message from Bishop Jung. That's a recorded video, as you can see on the very top there. And once again, if you're looking at this digitally, you can actually click on that link to view the video that Bishop Jung has prepared as remarks. And then obviously we're going to go through all these other parts of the table of contents, so we don't need to dwell on this page too long. Ad Council Chair Mark always has to um, provide an update about the review of Parkview's life and ministry as part of our charge conference paperwork we turn in to the conference. So you can, of course, pause the video and read this, or just read it on your own digital copy of his remarks. The next page is our ministry plan of action. Thank you to all of you who prayed over that over the previous weeks in October of how we would articulate the ways we're going to actually put into action what our vision statement is and live into our values and our vision as a church. So I appreciate all of you who prayed over that, and we didn't have a lot of input as far as new things to add, but I know that that doesn't mean that y'all didn't engage with that. So I appreciate your time and intentionality with uh, doing our vision, which is something we all do together as a church congregation. This is something new. We just passed this as an administrative council on October 2023. It's our safe sanctuaries policy. Honestly, it's practices that we've been doing for quite a while as a church. It's just that now, in this age of the huge Boy Scouts of America sexual abuse settlement and some of the other high profile examples of sexual assault and misconduct within churches and just other public organizations, insurance companies like Church Mutual have really stepped up their requirements for every congregation to have some sort of policy in place. So, just to say, this isn't dramatically going to change our practices at Parkview. We've been doing a very good job, I think, over the years protecting our youth and children, but we just have it in writing now. So this next 6 pages is the policy. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining that, but please take a look at it, be familiar with it. If you ever want a paper copy just to look at, there's a binder in the narthex under the bulletin board that has a bunch of different forms and policies of our church. So you can just read a paper copy there and get extra copies of the report forms, which you'll see in a minute. But I do encourage you just to take some time to either scroll through this now or look through this at another time. Goes on for a couple pages, and then, like I said, here are the incident report forms. If there's an accident, this would be the form that the responsible adult would fill out, just so we have some um, information on what happened. And then if there's ever suspicion or an allegation of abuse, this would be the form that we would encourage folks to fill out. And again, if you want copies of that form, they're going to be found in the narthex underneath the bulletin board. There's a binder of policies and church minutes and other materials, and you can find in the uh, right when you open that binder. There's a bunch of copies of these two forms available if you ever need them. Okay, moving on. And I apologize. I think on your screen you're seeing this bar in the way. But what it says is clergy continuing education and ministry. This is something new that DSP wants us as pastors to include. Uh, what we did for continuing education. The policy in the Wisconsin Annual Conference is clergy have to spend uh, or have to do 4 continuing education um, units, so 4 units of continuing education. Sorry, had to get that through. As a provisional elder, all of my 4 units is covered through the residency program. And that is because we have 4 retreats we go to. Sometimes not really retreats, they're more overnight meetings, but they call them retreats nevertheless. And then monthly, we have Zoom meetings as a smaller group. Um, and then that's all in preparation for, well, it's also to help us as new clergy to the conference, but it also prepares us to apply for ordination, which kind of in of itself, the ordination application process is its own kind of learning and continuing education. Um, but in addition to that, I also do the Bishop's Day Apart, which is a day of fellowship and a little bit of learning, as well as the School for Ministry, which is an annual event held at Green Lake for all Wisconsin clergy are required to be there. 2024, I will have about half the year in the provisional residency program, and then I pray and I hope in June at annual conference I'll be ordained, which means after June I would not have provisional residency continuing ed, but I will continue to do the Bishop's Day Apart and the School for Ministry, mainly because those are required and because I like them. In addition, you can do one of your continuing education units, one of the 4, through professional reading, which means reading something that uh, you do to help your ministry grow or your skills develop, and that's minimum of 10 hours. And I have 2 books that have been on my shelf for a long time that I want to get to reading, so I will. Uh, I think now that you all know about that, I will feel more obligated to actually read those books. I'm excited to. Just honestly, um, reading is hard in the sense of there's always so much other things to do throughout the week for church ministry, especially being halftime. But a goal and ambition for 2024 is to be more intentional about professional development and through the professional reading. I'm adding the second part here, the Sabbath keeping and renewal. This isn't something we're required to talk about, but I think it's important. Um, Mainly because in our provisional residency program, we've been working a lot with some of the older clergy and some of the clergy leaders in the conference. And they really have been hoping and praying that us as younger clergy will be able to stick it in with the long run. Just especially with COVID, there's a lot of very early retirements, and for a variety of reasons. But a big one that some of our clergy leaders in the conference noticed was just people getting way too burned out. And granted, pandemic ministry is totally different than even what we're doing now in ministry, but still, they really emphasize you know keeping the Sabbath and then renewing your spirit and your mind and your body through taking the vacation that we are afforded as a United Methodist clergy. So, anyway, just to say, I do a pretty good job with my Monday Sabbath keeping. Lori also has Monday Sabbath, so we enjoy that time together as a family. I also appreciate y'all giving me for Pastor Appreciation Month that beautiful um, journal, well, notebook that I've turned in my Sabbath journal, which is one of my favorite practices, spiritual practices to do, especially on Sabbath day, just a time of prayer and reflection and seeing what God has to say in the stillness of Sabbath rest. I always enjoy that. And then as far as vacation, in 2023, Lori and I both get 4 weeks through the ELCA and the UMC. So as it says there, after Easter, we took a week. In mid-August, we took a week with my family. In October, we took a week with Lori's family, and then we will do another trip after Christmas. So the final Sunday of the year, the final Sunday, December the 31st, we'll be on vacation for that day as well. Next unit, and this is not something we vote on at this point, but it's just an FYI. This is the membership audit. So it shows our changes in membership since last church conference. Hopefully you can still see on the screen, but we got Norma Beach transferred to, oh, I got to fix that spelling error there. She transferred to Ladysmith United Methodist Church, where she lives closer to them. Last year at church conference, um, because Jennifer, Rain, and Brandon Grosskopf had all been listed twice as far as the removal of members. We did vote to remove them as members. And then we have Chuck Thompson and Sybil Thompson, who've been long time friends of the church, constituents is another way to describe it. They have joined officially as professing members as of September 11th. So we're excited to have you two formally on the membership roll, but also Chuck and Sybil, if you're listening, your faithful participation in the church has definitely been something we've appreciated over the years. So now this is something that we'll actually vote on. It's called the care and removal of members. This is a form that membership secretary Kathy Zemke and I work on each year. So we fill in the fun part, which was people received into membership. Of course, that's Chuck and Sybil. We list them as profession of faith. They sometimes when people receive into membership, it's oftentimes if they're adults, it's through transfer from another Methodist church or another Christian denomination. And since Chuck and Sybil have been coming to the church for so long, they're not transferring from a different church membership. So just to clear up anything though, Chuck and Sybil have been following the Lord for many years, and they have had deep faith in Christ for a long time. But for the sake of recording, they joined through a profession of faith, which was very exciting on that day. Persons removed from membership, our second area here. Talked about that a minute ago in the membership audit. Care and removal of names, so members. These are people listed here who are on our church roll, who are official members, but for many reasons have not been as active in the church lately, and they need special care and encouragement to be a part of the church, but also the opportunity to recommit to joining the active life of the church or letting their membership lapse. So how it works is you have first time to be listed. So people, this is the first time that their names appear on this. Second time to be listed, pretty self-explanatory. They've been listed at least once before, sometimes more than that. So the names you see here for the first time to be listed, just to say that these are not bad Christians by any means. I know a number of them are very active in the community through the work that they do, the organizations they volunteer with. They live out their faith in many different ways. It's just that we haven't seen them in worship. When we ask for different things to be furnished for events or other activities, we don't receive any reply at all. So it just becomes, for Kathy and I as membership secretary and pastor, we just noticed that there's no indication why they're not coming, except perhaps being a part of the church is no longer their primary means of spiritual outlet and spiritual growth. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad Christians. It just means perhaps what we offer and what we do at Parkview is no longer fulfilling what they feel called to do, or what they desire to do from a spiritual sense. So as you see them in the community, definitely continue to invite the Betts family and the Ketnackers and the Rose family to be a part of the church, to come to events, to come to worship. They're always more than welcome. But certainly there's no reason to ever give them a hard time. Just this is more to list the names to encourage you all as the church body to be especially holding them in prayer and care, to encourage them to be part of the church. And if they don't wish to do that, we will just part ways amicably. The second time to be listed folks would be Angie, Bonnie, and then the Globitzes. These are folks who we haven't seen for a couple years now at church worship or any church events, and again, haven't received feedback from them or being willing to help with various church special events. Uh, and again, knowing them, they also live out their faith in other ways. So we don't need to be, upset with them or judgmental, but um, this would be an opportunity during charge conference to vote to release them from our church membership role. Um, Hope that they always come back and join us as friends of the church, but they no longer be under the obligations to be a part of the church's life and ministry because they would no longer be official members. Um, they would instead just be part of the community that we serve and live alongside, um, but not as fellow members of the church. The next section that we'll vote on is our lay leaders of the church. Special shout out to our nominations committee who helped get this form all set up. So just to point out some changes, there's not too many for administrative council, except there's a little bit of switching of people in positions. So Diane Hoffman will move from finance secretary to church treasurer. Dennis is releasing that position. And Dennis, we appreciate all of your years of service and dedication to that. Luann will then come in as the finance secretary. And then we have Jeff Outcalt and Tom Becker, who are going to be co-chairs of the trustees, or they're going to be willing to do that. Officially, the trustees will meet at the beginning of the year and vote on who will be the president and vice president. But informally, they've already agreed to be co-chairs. And why that's so important is Jeff Hoffman, who's probably listening to this, has been doing such a wonderful job for so many years, but there is a term limit for how often. And from a practical standpoint, Jeff is very eager for other folks in the church to know all the cast of characters of who to call when things are going wrong in the church, who's the repair services, and then some of the other quirks and special things about the church. So he's I think excited to share that knowledge with Jeff Outcall and Tom Becker. But Jeff Hoffman, I know you probably are going to still want to be around the church quite a bit, and we certainly welcome that as we do this transition time to new generation of trustee leaders. So those are the main changes. Everyone else, oh, I'm sorry, and then Chuck Thompson is going to be our finance chair, which was Jeff Outcalt's position this last year. So Jeff, appreciate your service in that way, and Chuck, we appreciate your yes to this nomination to be the finance chair. As far as the other four committees required by the Book of Discipline, we have the Staff Parish Relations Committee, which includes our lay membered annual conference, Wayne, Sarah Heinz, who is our lay leader, and then the class of 2024 is Elaine, 2025 is Carol, and 2026 is the new person, which is Dennis. The way the class system works is it's 3-year terms, so Elaine's been on for 2 years already, has one more year, so she graduates in 2024, if you will. Carol has been on for a while. She graduates again, if you will, in 2025, and that will be the end of her second term, which means she will no longer be able to continue on in staff parish relations. And then Dennis, there for the next 3 years, 2024, 2025, graduates his first term in 2026, and at that point, we'll have conversation with him and nominations about if he would want to continue on for a second term. So that's what those class and first, second, and first in parentheses mean. Below them, we have the trustees. So I listed them as the class members first. So Lynn Steinmetz has one more year. And then Jeff Outcalt, he's going to be the class of 2025. So 2-year term. And then Tom will be class 2026. And we have kind of more permanent positions. And then the people who are in that position are on trustees. So we have the Memorial Fund treasurer, Julie, is on. And then lay membered annual conference, Wayne, and Sarah is the lay leader, is also on the trustees. Committee on Finance, you can see the names there, but basically how that's organized is we have to have a chair for finance, And then, of course, the finance treasurer and financial secretary. And then on the committee, we also include a representative of SPRC and the lay membered annual conference, who is one and the same, Wayne Gronke. The lay leader is on the finance committee, and that's Sarah. And then, of course, Julie is on because she's memorial treasurer, but also there needs to be representative of the trustees, and she is a member of the trustees, so she is on with both those hats. And then ad council chair Mark Fuller is also on finance. And then nominations and leadership development, the committee that worked with me to fill out this roster of leaders. The membership secretary is on, so that is currently Kathy Zemke. Lay member annual conference, lay leader, also on that committee. Those two are on every committee. They're very busy, Wayne and Sarah. And then we have for class of 2024, one more year is Jeff Outcall. Paula is going to be on for 2 more years at least, and then she can go for another term if she'd like. And then Jeff Hoffman will be on for the next 3 years. And then, of course, I'm on that committee as well. Technically, I'm the chair, but didn't need to list that on there. So this would be something we vote on at charge conference. So please take a good look at that, pray over that, and then this will be one of the items we have to officially take a vote on Monday. Another item would be the Parkview budget. Just to say the way that the budget process works, it initially starts with this year it was Dennis and I both kind of made our own, back of the envelope, real rough budgets based on last year's number, and then we combined ours, presented that to the finance committee, and then finance committee approved theirs, approved the budget, and then had administrative council examine the budget and then approve it ultimately at the October. November ad council meeting. Anyway, if you notice, this is not that different from previous years. Bottom line number, it is a 6% increase over 2023. A major part of that increase would be church mutual insurance went up about $1,600, and then pastor's salary. I think it was a 5% increase, and it is. I'll get to this in a minute. Is slightly above minimum salary, but basically, the big increases for the year were from my salary and the church insurance both going up, and those are numbers we really don't have a lot of ability to change since those are set by the conference and the insurance company. But just to go through all the other ones, I'm not going to go line by line, but just pay attention to this far right column to see how that changed from the previous year. So again, not the it's an important budget, but it's very similar to previous years and very much in line with what the finance committee believes we're going to be able to bring in as a church next year. Approval of pastoral compensation. I just apologize, this is a little small, but I ended up just basically copy and pasting the form that I had the staff parish relation committee look at and then finance committee look at when creating the budget, and administrative council examined it to know how the number came into the church budget. But basically how it works is this is a formula that we go through on the computer program. Minimum salary voted on by annual conference in June was for a full-time pastor, $48,679. I am half-time, so half of that would be $24,339.50. Dennis has taught me the importance of, for the sake of the treasurer, to always round up to have nice even numbers. So the reason why there's a I think it's a $21.50 increase for me, is that then the annual salary is just slightly higher, but the monthly check would be $2,030 instead of 2020 whatever and whatever cents. So anyway, I did seek and then ultimately get approved for a slight pay bump over minimum salary, and that is how that number came to be, in case you're wondering. Other than that, we don't have to pay insurance for me because I'm not full-time. The church pays the cell phone bill, since a lot of ministry business in 2023 is now through texting and email and phone calls on personal cells. We also have Excuse me. We also have the pension that the church has to pay. Again, that is through a calculation that the conference sets up. So that's not a number that we really can change. That is small to read, but it's $1,858.50. The next three lines here, professional reimbursed or miscellaneous professional expense reimbursed, book expenses, travel expenses, continuing ed expenses. These are all accountable reimbursements, which you'll see on the next page. It comes out to $3,200. These are not blank checks I get at the beginning of the year. It's just up to $150 of book expenses I can turn in receipts to get reimbursed. I can turn in my mileage up to $2,000 to get fully reimbursed. And same thing with continuing education. So again, that $33,200 from these four numbers is not additional compensation. It's just what I can get reimbursed up to for various ministry things. And then we have the $4,000 parsonage utilities paid by the church. Just to say this year, with having a baby, Lori and I, we already know we're going to be over that 4,000. So we will be writing a check once we have the final number of how much we went over that to reimburse the church for the additional amount over 4,000. So you get a total compensation package of $38.50, about $1,200 increase over previous year. Again, mainly because the minimum salary by the conference went up by a few percent this year. Okay, this is the official like IRS language, but basically it's saying that the total amount of reimbursement plan shall not exceed $3,200. Again, that $3,200 comes from $150 maximum for books, $150 maximum for miscellaneous professional expenses, $900 maximum reimbursement for continuing education, and $2,000 for travel. We also have to officially approve this. Again, it's a more of a tax reason for my sake when I file my taxes. But since I live in a parsonage, I don't get a housing allowance, but I get what's called a parsonage allowance. And this is all kind of referring to this paragraph that's bold here. So what happens is this $3,600 for anything that I buy from my own, money that I get paid by the church to furnish the parsonage. So that can be, anything from paper towels to furniture. I can keep track of that, and then when I file my taxes, that is a tax deduction. I think is the way to word that. So all that to say, I am not getting an additional $3,600. It's just up to $3,600 of the money that I was, earned and have to pay taxes on. I could actually have that amount deducted up to 3,600. Last year, when we were preparing for baby Peter, we got actually pretty close to that. I think we're at like 3,100. This year, I think we're going to be under 1,500. So I'm not going to get a full $3,600 deduction. It's just I can do up to that. So in case we have a big set of expenses and who knows what can happen. So I was just told one time by the conference benefits officer, always aim higher on that, but just know you have to keep all your receipts because otherwise you will definitely get in trouble if you claim to spend $3,600 on parsonage furnishings and cannot prove that to the IRS if you ever get audited. So anyway, that's probably more than you need to know, but that's what this form is about. Not additional compensation, just more for my own tax filing next year. Finally, this year we do not have any lay servants or lay speakers that are going to be seeking renewal. You'll remember last year we had Norma Beach, Mark Fuller, and Elaine Moles, but Norma has transferred to Ladysmith, so she is now connected with that church as far as her lay leadership or lay servant status. And then Mark and Elaine have both decided that the way that they serve the church and they live out their spiritual gifts does not necessarily need to have the lay servant and lay speaker status connected with them. So they'll continue to, for Elaine, she especially does a lot with music ministry, both in our church and other area churches and through Higher Vision. So she will continue to lean into that and do great work. And then Mark will continue to be, for this upcoming year, our ad council president and just a general leader in the church in other ways, but not as a United Methodist lay speaker. Um, I do encourage all of you to pray about becoming a lay servant or a lay speaker. That involves a couple of classes and spiritual development. It's a great program. It's one that actually I very much support because on the district level, I'm part of the committee that is responsible for promoting lay servant ministries in the district. Mainly, my role is just in the background because obviously lay people should be leading in the lay servant ministry committee. But I really believe in this program, and I think it's a great way to, as it says in this, as you can see, that every aspect of the lay servant ministry program is pleasing to our Heavenly Father. And it is an important part of a lot of people's faith journey over the years. And I think it probably is for some of you too. So please pray about that and then speak to me if you want any more information about lay servant ministries. And with that, that is actually the end of our charge church conference packet. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me during office hours Friday, Sunday, or of course Monday at our meeting at 6 p.m. And I look forward to spending that. Let me go back to the beginning here. Spending our time together on Monday, November 20th at 6 p.m. God's peace be with you all, and I very much appreciate you listening to this information.